Hi friends, good morning and everyone. So I hope you're welcome to my channel. So today we are going to start about today we are going to talk about a separate domain. So in we have a lot of DevOps tools in the market, right? So a lot of DevOps tools and those are categorized into different categories. So out of which we have some of the categories like source code, source code management, and we have infrastructure tools, and we have CI/CD tools, and we have configuration management tools. So we have many tools, but these are the basic tools that everyone is using in the industry for for their DevOps environment. Okay, so David, today we are going to discuss about one such tool that we call it as Ansible. It belongs to a family called configuration management. Okay, so configuration management. So this configuration management, a very important topic in very important that every IT guy is basically do some configurations in his IT environment, and which is pretty much important, and he will do some administrative tasks and some admin related work, and which basically relates to the work which IT team is doing. Okay, so of course, yeah, configuration management, we are going to discuss about a tool called Ansible. And of course, that is not only limited to the IT team. So a lot of teams like DevOps, developers, testers, and everyone is using this Ansible for their respective use cases, right? So today, so first of all, we need to understand what is configuration management and how this is classified. So what is the main usage of having configuration management in the industry? Okay, so configuration management is is the process of automating the complete admin related activities, and automating server provisioning, and automating reusable tasks. So these are the different use cases of configuration management. So before getting into what are the use cases and why it is important, let's see what it is. Okay, so let us consider I have a server in my environment. I have one particular server which is Ubuntu. So I have one particular server. I need to deploy an application on top of it, or I need to create some files in that server, or I need to create some users in that server. So what we are going to do, we are going to use SSH protocol, and we are going to log in into that particular machine. If it is Linux machine, we are going to use SSH. If it is Windows, we are going to use RDP, right? So RDP for Windows. So different flavors of operating systems that we are going to connect to the server with one protocol, and we are doing the automations. So here I'm taking the example of a Linux machine. So let us consider this machine. It is a machine with Ubuntu flavored operating system, right? So I have a Ubuntu server. If I want to create some users or create some text files in it, so I need to log into the server by using SSH protocol, and I need to execute some Linux commands, right? It's a manual task. Okay, that's fine for one server. So what happens if I have 10 servers? Okay, that is also fine. We have 10 servers. We will take, it will take 5 minutes for each server. We will log into it, and 10 into 5, 15 minutes of time. At any cost, we are going to consume it, and we are going to create that users and files. Okay, so what happens if I have 1,000 servers? Is it really possible? that I'm going to log into that particular servers and create users and create text files manually, it's not possible, right? So it takes a lot of time, and we need a lot of people who can log in into it and who can run the commands that is given in the flight plan, isn't it? So you have to log in into the server, you have to connect to the server, execute the commands of creating a user, creating the shell access to the user, creating the files and all the stuff. So if it is 1 or 2 servers, we can do it manually. What happens if it is 1,000 servers or 10,000 servers or 2,000, 3,000, and thousands of servers? It's very difficult, right? So that's where the Ansible comes into picture. That's where the configuration management comes into picture, right? So for one server, you are connecting into it and you are doing some configurations. Configurations is like adding users, creating files, installing packages, or deleting the packages, anything. But if you have 1,000 servers, you need to manage that configuration in such a way that with a single tool, if you're executing a script, it should create the users and files in all the 1,000 servers. So that's what the automation, right? Automation is nothing but reducing the human effort and reducing the consumption of time, reducing the cost, all the stuff. Automation is nothing but reducing the human interaction in the task. So here, if I want to create users or files in 1,000 different servers, so that is really not possible. It's impossible. No organization recommends you to log in 1,000 servers and create users and files. So we need to use a tool called configuration management tool. Of course, we have a lot of configuration management tools in the industry, out of which very first one that every organization would love to use is Ansible. So trust me, I love to work with Ansible. Why? Because it's pretty easy, it's pretty understandable, and it's pretty cool. It can do any automation. Let us take AWS. In AWS, we are going to provision a lot of services. The provisioning of services, it can also be possible with Ansible. Not only configuration management, we can also use Ansible as infrastructure as a code tool, which is pretty interesting, right? So it's very easy and it's very easy to understand, and anyone can write and work Ansible scripts. Okay, so now let's jump into the what are the different components that involved in Ansible, what are the building blocks that Ansible is having. So let's discuss all of that. So before getting into those details, I want to discuss about Ansible architecture, right? Ansible architecture, it's pretty interesting, right? So okay, so let's deep dive into this architecture now. So in this Ansible architecture, we need to have few components. So first of all, I need to give you a note here. Ansible works with manager and worker concept. So you have a manager, or we also call it as a controller, or we also call it as a master, whatever it is. But the main is same. It manages the entire architecture, right? It controls the entire architecture. It gives directions to the entire architecture. So in Ansible architecture, we have a particular server. We are going to dedicate the server for the Ansible, where Ansible is getting installed on top of that server. That we call it as Ansible master. So how this master will communicate with thousands of servers to achieve that big automation? That is pretty important, right? So in Ansible architecture, it's not just that we are going to set up Ansible on one server and it can do anything. It's not like that. You have to set up a complete architecture where your master server or your controller server or your controller node is going to interact with each and every node in your infrastructure, right? So here, let's discuss more details about the architecture here. So the very first point that I need to highlight here is Ansible works with master or controller or manager and worker architecture. Okay. Okay. So this is very first point that I need to make sure you guys all clear about. So we have Ansible master or controller or manager who completely take care of and who completely keep an eye on every node, who completely distributes the task to different nodes. All right. So now, so the second point. So how Ansible will communicate with all those nodes, all those worker nodes, especially. Fine. So let's see that. So Ansible work with a protocol called SSH. It is nothing but secure shell protocol. Okay. You're going to have a SSH protocol enabled in your Ansible master server, not only master, all the worker nodes, and you are going to enable this SSH protocol, and so that Ansible will interact with master and worker with the help of that SSH protocol. Okay, so now the third point that I need to have is inventory. We need to talk more about inventory. So you installed Ansible on one particular master server, but how it knows these are the worker nodes that I need to interact with, or that I need to connect with, or that I need to do the automations in, right? So you have a master node, that's completely fine. So you have a master node and controller node or whatever you call it as, but it should know on which servers it has to perform the automation, right? So we are going to give the details of all the worker nodes in a file called inventory. Okay, inventory file. So this is one important building block of Ansible. Okay, inventory file. So what are the different ways? Now what we have seen, we have discussed about 3 points. The first one is Ansible works with master and controller architecture, and Ansible works with a protocol called SSH. Of course, the default port number of SSH is 22. Okay, so most of you guys are already familiar with Linux. You know what 22 port number is and why it is working for. It's fine. And the third point is inventory. Inventory is, what is inventory? Inventory, a file. Inventory is nothing but a file where we are going to declare all the details of worker nodes, right? So that is the file where we are going to give the details of the worker nodes. Hey, Ansible, just go and do automation in this group of worker nodes, or just go and automation in this IP address. So you are going to give details of all the worker nodes in Ansible master inventory file. All right. And the last point is, which is pretty important, we have a configuration file called ansible.chg. Okay, ansible.chg. All the settings, right? All the configurations of the Ansible will be resided in ansible.chg, and that is the place where we are going to give the path of our inventory file. Okay, so that's how we need to set up. These are the 4 important points that you need to keep in mind in terms of Ansible when you're especially working with Ansible. All right, so let's jump into the deep detailing architecture now. Okay, so here, so let's come down. So let's consider this is a master server. Okay, so we have 2 worker servers here. Okay, we have 2 worker servers. So this is the place, this is the master server, this is the controller server where Ansible is installed. Okay, where Ansible is installed. And here we need to identify, we need to keep in mind about 2 different file paths. That is, all the configuration files will go into etc directory that we already know it. And when you install Ansible on one particular Linux machine, a Ansible directory will be automatically created, right? So Ansible directory will be automatically created, and inside the Ansible directory, you will be having all the configuration files and all the inventory files and all the roles that you are going to work with. So this is the main component in Ansible master. Okay. So now how Ansible master interacts with its worker nodes. It interacts with its worker nodes with the help of a protocol called SSH, right? SSH. Its port number is 22. So using SSH protocol, it interacts with its worker nodes, right? So worker 1, worker 2. So no matter, it might have 1,000 number of workers or 10,000 number of workers, but it works with a protocol called SSH. Okay, so fine. So we have an etc directory and we have an Ansible directory inside in it, and we will be having a different configuration files inside the Ansible directory, and even inventory file will also be resided in Ansible directory. Okay, so without wasting any time, let's get into practicals. So this is all about Ansible architecture. So let's discuss more about Ansible architecture in the coming videos. And we will start with our lab setup in the coming video. We will start with setting up Ansible in the controller machine, and we will start with setting up Ansible in all the worker servers. Okay. So we'll continue with the lab setup in the coming video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.